Hi guys, this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? Ajibale Kemcho, Aj Sabkesuho. So today I'm going over Jupiter's transit in Bharani Nakshatra. Okay, this is pretty important. Why? Because, okay, obviously Jupiter is in Bharani Nakshatra, but number two is that Rahu is in Ashwini. Okay, so conjunct Jupiter, but in different nakshatra. Two, Jupiter's sign lord Mars is in Leo, which is another fire sign. And then three, Jupiter's nakshatra lord Venus, and this is the one that people might not catch on too much, is that Jupiter's nakshatra lord Venus is retrograde for most of this transit, okay? Or slowing down, or retrograde for all of this transit, okay? For most of this transit, it's retrograde, but at the very beginning, it's slowing down, okay? I'll discuss all these in detail now. One other thing is that Jupiter, yes, it's in Bharani Nakshatra from June 21st to September 3rd. I'm only doing this transit video until Jupiter goes retrograde. So Jupiter goes retrograde at September 3rd. So I'm only doing it until this date. After that, I'll make another video later. And when Jupiter goes retrograde, it's kind of at the end of Bharani, okay? So there's that. It's at least past halfway. I don't know exactly. I forgot the exact degrees it goes retrograde at right now, but that's that. Now, moving forward. So I just gave all these points, right? These points are significant. Why? Well, one, Jupiter sign lord, like I said, Mars, is in Leo. Now, Mars owns Aries, right? So Aries is all about what? The changes for you, right? Just changes, right? So first sign of the zodiac cycle is just changes. So when Mars, which is Aries lord, is in Leo, the changes are basically directed towards Leo things, which is what? Self-fulfillment, okay? So any changes has the focus of self-fulfillment. So I think that's clear. Number two, the Rahu thing. So Rahu's in Ashwini and Jupiter's in Bharani, right? Now, these two nakshatras make up most of Aries. Now, why? Well, I mean, what's the difference between the two, right? It's not just, oh, this is the first half, this is the second half, but what's the significance here? So Ashwini is all about changes that you have to make, right? At the beginning of Aries, right when Aries starts. Now, Bharani is more after it kind of gets started, so it's more the changes that you want to make. Okay, that's why the first one is ruled by Ketu, which is more sudden. Second one is ruled by Venus, which is more enjoyment, changes you want to make for you. Okay, so the fact that Rahu is in Ashwini means that things might happen a little bit suddenly from there, right? So that's that. Now, next thing, and this is the wild card I want to call it, is that Venus is retrograde from July 22nd to September 3rd, okay? So it ends its retrograde right when Jupiter starts its retrograde. And yeah, it goes retrograde a month after this transit starts, but for a month before Venus goes retrograde, it gives very strong stationary or almost retrograde-like effects. And you can watch my video on retrograde or stationary video for more information on this specifically. But the reason why is because Venus doesn't go retrograde that much, okay? So when it goes retrograde, it starts slowing down like a long time before, okay? And its effects are more stronger. So that's that. So the combination of Rahu and Ashwini and Venus, being retrograde, it's going to kind of make some sudden things happen, okay? Especially things in regards to Venus. And the fact that Mars is in Leo and Venus is retrograde, which is Jupiter's nakshatra lord here, and Venus is retrograde close to Mars, which is Jupiter's sign lord, there's a strong, the self-fulfillment is kind of focused on Venus-like things, okay? So I'll leave it at that. So things could happen suddenly, right? Because Rahu's in Ashwini and Venus is retrograde, and Venus is also Jupiter's nakshatra lord. And the actual sudden things could have a lot to do with Venus, right? Because Venus is the one that's retrograde, and like Venus is Jupiter's nakshatra lord, and it's close to Mars, which is Jupiter's sign lord, and Mars is in Leo, which is about self-fulfillment. Okay, so now moving forward, so that we know there's sudden things and they're related to self-fulfillment with mostly and with a strong focus on Venus things, right? So what can we do here? Okay, the main advice I will give you is Venus is in Bharani, which is all about The consciousness is trying to see what things it can start doing that you kind of want to do. Okay. So things will happen, right? I would encourage you, when things happen in general, you try to learn from them, right? You try to evolve mentally, spiritually, whatever you want to call it. So I'd try to encourage you to, when things happen, use that Jupiterian, energy in Bharani to see, okay, what do we kind of want to start doing? Okay, you want to kind of get the ball rolling here. What do we want to start doing? Yeah, this happened. Okay, what do we want to start doing? Okay, that's the main focus here. Now that Jupiter is in Bharani Nakshatra. Okay, now one small thing to keep in mind is that Saturn does throw an aspect onto Aries here, right? So it's kind of going to give a little bit, like, when there's things you want to do, there's always going to be a little bit of things that you have to do. Even if you're in a very strong period of you're getting to do things that you want to do, there's obviously going to be a little things you have to do, right? So Saturn's going to make sure of that, okay? Especially because its aspect is on Rahu and Jupiter in Aries, right? But overall, I'd encourage you to take this mindset, right? Focus on when things happen, see what you would like to start doing. Act like holistically groundedly, right? Because Jupiter is here, okay? If other planets were here, it's kind of like more like ego-based and stuff like that. But the true consciousness is letting you know what it could want to start doing for enjoyment or fulfillment or Venus-like things, which is, in my opinion, a decent place to be. Now, something that my intuition is kind of telling me that's going to be a big, big, big focus here is detachment from, because Jupiter naturally owns Pisces, right? So there's always going to be detachment. So the first part I just said about the figuring out, what you want to, what you want to kind of start doing for enjoyment. That was more the Sagittarius side of Jupiter. Now the Pisces side of Jupiter is more, and I think this is how it's going to play out in general. It's going to be things that you want, that you need to detach from expectations, or not expectations, but kind of things, the way you've been used to doing things or the way you've been used to enjoying things. And let me give you an example. So we tend to be caught up a lot in our habits and our patterns, right? And when we have to do things outside of our habits and our patterns, we tend to be uncomfortable. Now, this also applies to enjoyment too. We tend to enjoy in very, I'm not going to say confined ways, but I'm not even going to say structured ways either, but ways that we're comfortable with. Now, there's a beauty in that, right? Because you don't want to just be enjoying recklessly all over the place, right? But in this sort of situation, with the energies I just described and things like that, there might need to be a little bit of detachment from the way you've been used to doing things. Now, you need to be careful because Rahu is in Ashwini, right? So you don't want to just go crazy and do all kinds of reckless things and detach from whatever you've been doing and then do reckless things, right? That's not what the ideal here is, but Jupiter is here, right? So, you do want to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. You don't want to get it going too much, right? You kind of want to wait on that until, possibly Jupiter goes retrograde, or even better, after it goes retrograde and when it goes stationary again, when Rahu's out of Aries, right? But after Jupiter has already, gone forward in Aries and gone backwards and then went forward again. That's kind of when you kind of want to maybe start playing around with some new lifestyle habits, possibly, right? But for right now, in this present, I would not encourage you to experiment too much externally, right? But I would encourage you to experiment a little bit internally, right? See what you're able to be open to mentally. That's basically a theme here. And the way that comes is detaching from the way that you've possibly been rigidly used to doing things, okay? But like I said, don't go crazy, and definitely try not to let it bleed out externally too much, okay? Because, there is Rahu there, and Venus is retrograde, okay? There's all types of explosive energy in the air, so you do want to be a little mindful of that, okay? But I think that's going to be it for this video. So if you have any further questions or comments, let me know. Hopefully everything in this video was clear. It was a little bit of a different kind of video because usually a planet, there's when I do these Nakshatra videos, it's usually not that focused on the Nakshatra Lord this much, okay? But in this case, I think it's an exception, but like a valid exception. But that's what I had to say. So if you have any questions or comments, you can let me know. And until next time, I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you all very, very much for watching.